Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to talk about supply and demand, but in reverse order. Basically, we use these two things to determine our prices or prices that people would buy and sell goods at. If you have trouble with this, please send me an email because it will be a little complicated at first, but once it clicks, it's really going to be fairly simple. So demand is a consumer's willingness to buy a good. And what you really have to think about when you're thinking about demand is what price would I like to buy goods at? I know most people would probably like to buy goods at $0. And so the demand curve is a graph that shows the amount of a product that will be bought at all possible prices. So the way you read this, price goes up and down, quantity sold will be left or right. And so at $0, you read it this way, not up and down, you read it left to right. At $0, 100% of goods would be sold, okay, for whatever this good may be. At $5, 90 would be sold. At $10, 80 would be sold, and so on. And for whatever good this may be, at $50, that's too much money and nobody is going to buy it. And you just have to think about something that you would buy. Like, think about a pair of shoes. Just whatever your favorite pair of shoes are. If I told you that I would give you a genuine, authentic pair of shoes that you really, really wanted for $0, you would take one pair or two pairs or as many pairs as I would give you. But if I said that pair of shoes is $50, you'd say, okay, I'll probably still buy them because I assume the shoes that you want are more expensive. At $100, you might still buy one pair, but not more. At $150, you might still buy a pair, but not two pairs. At $200, you might say, well, I might buy a pair, but I might not. At $250, you might still think about it, but as the price goes up, eventually you're just going to say, no, that's too expensive. I cannot afford it. That's how demand works. The higher the price, the less you want to buy a good. I would really, really love to buy a Ferrari, but for $500,000, I'm not going to. But if they somehow or another drop down to $10,000, then I would buy 5. So the law of demand, as price increases, demand decreases. This is from a consumer's point of view, from the point of view of the person buying a good. So what are reasons that demand would change? You can remember it's STIC, S-T-I-C. The first reason is substitution. So if Coke is cheaper than Pepsi or Pepsi is cheaper than Coke, that is a reason that you would change demand for those products. And you think about it, a lot of people are allegiant to either Coke or Pepsi, but most people just walk into a store and say, okay, Coke's $1, Pepsi's $1.50. I'm going to buy the Coke. And then the next week they might walk in and the Pepsi's on sale and the Coke is not. And so they buy the Pepsi instead. Taste or preference. If something is popular, you're more likely to pay more money for it. I know things like the Hydro Flask water bottles are now somehow popular and people are willing to pay like $50 or $60 for a water bottle. To me, I think that's ridiculous. I'm not paying more than $10 for a water bottle. However, I know some people have paid $40 and $50. Well, that's just taste or preference. Those won't be cool anymore in a year or so. You can think back to when you guys were kids and there were silly bands and people would buy silly bands, and now silly bands you wouldn't buy for a penny because they're not cool anymore. Okay? The I is income. So when you have more money, you're more willing to buy stuff. A lot of people just got their stimulus check from the government, and they're out buying groceries and paying their rent and doing things like that. Well, if they didn't have that money, they wouldn't be able to do that. So you're always more willing to buy goods when you have money. And compliment is the last thing. So just think about it like when you buy peanut butter, you typically also buy jelly. Nobody just eats just a peanut butter sandwich. Or maybe you do and you're in a small minority. When you buy a new pair of shoes, you might buy a complimentary pair of shoelaces in a different color than the ones that come on the shoe. When you buy a new truck, you might buy new tires that look good with that truck. When you buy a new shirt, you might buy new jeans, or you buy, a compliment will drive demand up for goods. All right. So what I want you to see here is when the demand raises, the line moves to the right. So here's your first demand, and here's your second demand. So it says, what would happen to the demand for Tony's Pizza after a decrease in an unemployment rate? Well, if unemployment rate goes down, the demand for Tony's Pizza goes up. And what that means is that he will sell more pizza at a higher price because people have more money. And if you go back to this, that would be based on income. The economy is doing better, so therefore it went up. It doesn't move to like diagonally or up and down. It moves straight to the right or straight to the left. All right, what would happen to the demand for Tony's Pizza after a new health kick not to eat carbs? Well, pizza is made out of carbs. Like, that's what the crust is. If you had a carbless pizza, you would just be eating cheese and maybe some pasta sauce, but probably just cheese. So the demand is going to go down, which means the line is going to move to the left. And that means Tony has to lower the price on his pizza in order to make money, or in order to sell the pizza. And that's based on taste. All right. What would happen to the sale of Tony's Pizza after a new dessert pizza comes out? Well, hopefully you're going to go to the restaurant to try out that new dessert pizza. He added a compliment in, which means his pizza is going to be more in demand. So the demand will go up, therefore he could sell for a higher price. What would happen to the demand for Tony's Pizza after a new pasta business opens? So don't think about it like as a competing business, as far as like, oh, well, they don't sell pizza, they only sell pasta. It is a new restaurant. If it's a new restaurant, you're going to go to that new restaurant just to try it out, whether it's good or not. You got to go try it just to find out if it's good. So what's going to happen to the demand for Tony's Pizza? Well, the demand for Tony's Pizza is going to go down because there's a new restaurant in town, and that will be substitute. All right. So the difference for different goods, elasticity changes demand. And what I mean when I say elasticity changes demand is a small change can change a small change in price can change the difference in how much you buy. So for example, if I asked you if $5 was a lot of money, most people would tell me no, in the grand scheme of the earth, $5 is not very much money. But if I asked you if you would pay how much you would pay for like a bag of Skittles, then you would probably tell me maybe $1 or 50 cents or something like that. Well, if I asked you to pay $5 for those Skittles, you would probably tell me no. And so you just told me $5 is not very much money, but you also told me you would not pay $5 for Skittles. That is elastic. Elastic demand can change. So if you look at this chart right here, at let's just call it $1, you would buy a lot of Skittles. However, at $5, you would not buy any Skittles. So that makes your demand elastic. But then there are some things where the demand is inelastic, meaning it doesn't matter how much it costs. You're still going to try and buy it. And so there's things like gasoline, electricity, brain surgery. It doesn't matter if your brain surgery costs $1 or $1 million. If you got to have it to live, you're still going to try and buy it. And that's how it works. The demand is not going to change very much. So here are tips for remembering demand. R rises to the right. L lowers to the left. If it's flat, it's elastic. If it's up and down, it's inelastic. Alright, so let's move over to supply. Now guys, y'all have to understand, for supply, it does not matter what you think as a consumer. It's what you would sell a good for. So you have to take this from a seller's point of view, not from a consumer's point of view. So the supply curve is going to go up and down. Remember, demand curve is going down, and so the supply curve is going up. It is the graph that shows the amount of a product that will be sold at all possible prices. And so, like, if you think about it, if I say, hey, I would like to sell you this bag of Skittles for $0, everybody's going to jump on that. But I'm not going to make any money if I give Skittles out for free, so I don't want to sell it for free. It's just like you may have seen stuff on social media where people, quote-unquote, influencers ask for stuff for free. And then the people are like, no, I'm not giving you anything for free because I don't make money if I give it to you for free. That's the supply curve. So the law of supply says that as price increases, supply increases. It would be like if you, if I said, hey, I'll give you this bag of Skittles for $1, and you said, sure, I'll buy it for $1. I said, well, what about $5? If you said, I will buy a regular size bag of Skittles for $5, as a Skittles producer, I will be up all day and night producing Skittles while people buy them. If you told me you would buy them for $10, I would never sleep because I would be making bags of Skittles to sell for $10. Because that's how much money I could just make a insane amount of money. Alright, so what would happen? It says, how much would you sell at these prices? So you just have to imagine this line going up. At $20, you're going to sell a bunch. $15, you're not going to sell as much. $10, you're not going to sell as much. $5, you're not going to sell hardly any. $0, you're not going to sell any at all. That's because you don't want to sell things for cheap. Alright, so reasons that supply changes. Production cost. So if the price of cotton goes up, the price of the t-shirt is going to go up. I don't know if anybody noticed, but currently it's hard to get meat because of the COVID-19, and so now because it's hard to get meat, the price of meat is going to go up. Entrance, exit of a substitute. If Nike goes out of business, then Adidas is going to sell more shoes. So that's just how it works because the Nike would not be available, so people have to buy your Adidas. Technology. Let's say I can make more of something than you, then I'm going to produce more, which means my supply is going to go up. So look, what happens to the supply of Tony's Pizza after the cost of tomatoes goes up? Well, the supply is going to go down because it's going to cost him more money to make more pizzas. So he's not going to be able to make as many pizzas when the tomatoes price goes up. Remember, lines move directly left or directly right. What happens to the supply of Tony's Pizza after Michelangelo's closes? Well, it's going to go up because now he's going to make more pizza because his competition went out of business. What happens to the supply of Tony's Pizza after he gets a better, larger double oven? Well, now he can make more pizza, so his supply goes up due to technology. So elasticity is pretty much the same thing with supply as it was with demand. Don't overthink that. That's what an actual demand curve looks like, or sorry, actual supply curve looks like. Don't worry about that as much. Alright guys, that is all I got today. This is probably the most complicated thing that I have ever had to make via computer. So if you have any questions, please send me an email, Zoom call me, whatever. We'll figure it out. I can do my best to try and get you straight. I hope you all have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.